Hey Ratbags, it's Jay today giving you the mega guide to all of the temples. As promised, I've shown off some of these temples, how to complete them and all the rewards that you get, but I wanted to do all of them in one video as some of them were so simple it didn't really make sense to do them as a separate. Anywho, this is the lifeblood of the game. You have to complete these temples to gain new rewards, including the Centurion armor set, a bunch of new weapons, and pretty much the most powerful weapon in the game, Poseidon's trident. We'll also unlock a bunch of elixirs and lots of gold coins, so it's definitely worth it, and it's obviously the main part. There will be 4 more added in future update for that island part we can't actually connect to just yet because it's got a lock on it. So for now, here's how to complete all 8 temples and the labours of the gods. Some quick tips about how to take on the guards that guard them, and some bonus loot that you can find in chests around the world at the end of the video. If you find this video useful, leave a like, and let's go. So, temples don't trigger their quests until you get close enough to them, and you want to do that before going ahead and killing any enemies, because the chances are they will respawn by the time you come back. So don't bother trying to kill them. Just run up, make sure the quest gets triggered, it shows the actual temple on your map and you've got the quest, and then come back later. Unless you really want to go ahead and get more resources killing these or get your combat skills up. My best advice is kite them around the temple or any cliffs or any terrain. Take out the soldiers out individually with headshots, bow and arrow for the win for sure, and stay clear of the Gorgon's actual powers as that takes away your glide ability as well as your dash. Focus on one or the other. Kill all the soldiers in one go if you can, or kill the Gorgon on its own. Some enemies have weaknesses against certain weapon types, but you'll have to try and decipher which they are, because I found it pretty hard because their symbols were so small. Every temple will have at least 1 Gorgon and 3 of the soldiers guarding it, and as I said, some of them do increase in difficulty as you start to explore more. So I know this sounds pretty easy on paper. You basically need to maintain the effect of Ambrosia Elixir for pretty much a whole day and night, i.e. 45 real minutes. So no skipping time either, as that might interrupt with it, or at least I found I tried doing that and it didn't really seem to work. It was only when I stayed up all day and all night that it did, but that probably needs more testing. But yeah, you have to basically make sure it doesn't run out. You have to have this potion going on all the time, and that could be challenging if you're going exploring elsewhere. So it has a 10-minute timer. So in theory, 5 of them should be more than enough to go ahead and activate it. But like I said, I feel like I maybe crafted 6 and had to use all 6 to get it. So my best advice for this one is do it when you're at base. It does give you a big stamina and speed boost. So unless you've got the willpower to just run around maybe and get all of the braziers, or maybe go and get all the Hermes statues, and absolutely not fight anything or risk any chance that you will have to use another potion, as that resets the timing. I would say you could still just use them while you're crafting, maybe building up your base or making some changes. I know that's kind of the basically scaredy cat route, but I tried this a bunch of times thinking I was Billy Big Balls with decent armor, running around doing other quests and stuff, and simply I died a bunch of times, and that resets it obviously. And even more frustrating, it does require rabbit pitry glands, 2 of them, plus raw wolf hearts, as well as reeds. Now the reeds should be easy enough to get near any water body, pretty much the river or that small lake in the middle of the map. Ambrosia dust, again, make sure you just put some crystals inside the grinder. Hopefully you've watched some of my other guides though, talking about how hard it is to get 3-star or 2-star kills, and they offer more chance of getting the pitry glands and the wolf heart from wolves and rabbits. So the best advice, and I'm leaving it here as well, is get headshots. Make sure you can kill enemies in one hit when you're hunting them. Make sure they're not alert either, and that will basically give you the best chance of getting 3-star or 2-star creatures. Use copper or even better arrows to normally one-shot the hares, and I think they will one-shot the wolves as well. And that's how you can hopefully build up enough. But yeah, you are probably more than likely going to need 10 rabbit pitry glands to craft the 5 Ambrosia elixir potions you need, and obviously yeah, 5 wolf hearts. So what do you get for reward? You get another potion. Restoration elixir from the temple, and then you get the bracers of the Centurion from the actual chest. Description of it says tops up both health and stamina, but yeah, again I would say it's probably not the best one to use, as it does give an increase, but there's still so many other potions you're probably going to be using more of. And you will need wolf blood, again, which you get from 2 or 3-star wolves, to go ahead and craft it. Temple itself is nestled into a cliff face just to the east of the Pindu Mountains. And if you can't see the recipe for the Ambrosia elixir, you may have to buy it from the trader if my memory serves me right. Okay, moving on to Apollo's braziers. There's 15 of these scattered across the starter and main island, with 3 on the starter island and pretty much 3 within each of the major biomes on the main island. So that does mean you need 300 of the ambrosia dust to go and light them, as each one is worth 20. So once you've found them all, defeated the enemies outside, then obviously your reward is going to be a centurion's helmet and some gold from the chest. And from the actual altar itself, it is the music box, which is odd because you can buy this music box as well. It does make you wonder, if I hadn't already bought some of the other stuff like the artisan table, maybe I would have been given that as a reward. So I am just going to show you the map and maybe a couple of the spots, but basically they're really easy to go and find, especially on the starter island. There's one just to the north of the lake that you come across on the starter island. On the east coast, just here. And literally on top of the Hecate temple, basically where you use the teleports to go to the main island, on top of the hill or the mountain, that's where you find the next one here in the south. Whether you light them or not, they do carry on showing on the map, which can be a problem if you haven't got enough ambrosia dust. So I would say make sure you've got a good amount every time you go to explore one of the new biomes. And obviously the best way for that is putting it through the grinder to get the dust rather than collecting it from enemies or anywhere else, as it's much quicker. So on the main island, you will also have one to the west, just on top of the alcove. FYI, as I've shown this before, this is where you find one of the Hermes statues on the beach just there too. So there are 3 in the southern mountains. You probably want to be doing this last though, as it's the most dangerous area. Make sure you've got plenty of stamina potions to get up the cliffs and the mountains around here. Obviously you can see the markers on the map. I've shown a few X's on some of the early ones, but yeah, they're pretty much easy to spot on this one. But yeah, absolutely filled with Gorgons and high level soldiers and more, so be careful. The 3 in the Dark Forest are spaced quite far. You've got one all the way in the south at the bottom end of the river. One right next to the big red boulder and cliffs on the western side, and then one on the eastern side. Not to be confused with the slightly yellow tinted flame of the altar in the north. You don't want to be doing this at night, as it just becomes so dark in the Dark Forest. And especially on the eastern one, look out for Gorgons that sometimes spawn in and around there near the big peak. And then if you keep going north out of the Dark Forest towards the coast, you will find another one. If you stick to the actual middle road, you should find it no problem. And then the one that maybe people missing out on is the one towards the east coast of the map. You can see it's just along near the southern one that's in the Dark Forest. Again, follow the road and you can find it pretty easily. The desert's probably one of the tougher ones, as the wisps are a bit harder to see sometimes with the storms, but there is one on the outside edges, and obviously there's another 2 in the desert as well. But you will find one in the Great Big Bones all the way to the south, one on the west coast, and then one in the northeast. The one in the south particularly, be careful, as there's Gorgons around there. So you might not need to rush for this one, maybe just come across it naturally after you've done the rest. But yeah, keep track of the actual braziers you've lit. The temple itself is just south of the lake and the teleportal crossroads where you spawn in. You can see the black flame just at the south or the bottom of this picture. So for the Ares temple, it's really simple. You need to kill 3 golems. So yeah, you might not want to invest in taking these guys on until you've gone and at least found a temple to activate it. That said, you always get supplies from these guys, obviously silver or clay or even copper if you find the copper one. So yeah, 3 extra isn't going to hurt, although there is a mastery where you have to kill 5. Desert is the best place to find concentrated ones. You'll find clay and the silver, otherwise there's a copper one inside the foothills next to the portal. And as always, there is going to be another Gorgon outside, pretty tough one as well. Again, not too many places to run around, and it's hard to spot us sometimes with the dust. Your reward, Centurion Greaves, and you get the Fury Potion. You need deer entrails, spartium and ambrosia dust to make it, and it basically increases your armor and health when you're down to below half health. The temple is just slightly northwest of the giant bones, or northeast of the actual teleport stone, so make sure you bring enough resources to activate that fast travel point. Okay, Poseidon's temple you'll find in the northeast, just on the coast or close to it, and you've pretty much got to go and get 20 seashells, which can only be found on the island out to sea, as you can see from the map on the east part. So the description says that you might need to get a better stamina potion and build that up and stuff, or you could just build a bridge. You can do it pretty easily with just some wood and some thatch, Build as far as you can and then just use either your glide ability to get across if it's strong enough, or just swim. If your athleticism is pretty good, you should be okay. There is a risk you will die in the water, so do just put a bed down on your bridge in case that happens. Once on the initial island, at least you'll find plenty of the seashells, although they are really small and tiny, so just run around spamming until you get at least 20 of them. They don't sell for much either, and I couldn't find any other use out of them, so don't panic about trying to collect too many more. Return to the temple, take care of the Gorgon soldiers as usual, and this is how you get the most powerful weapon in the game, Mighty Poseidon's Trident. You'll also get the Hoplite Spear as well, so 2 spears in one I guess. But the Trident is the OP weapon here. You have to pretty much make it out of gold, initially at least, and then you can increase that if you want by using either steel, ambrosia or iron. And it does frost damage, and it's pretty OP. It does no piercing damage, just frost damage, but it will increase depending on what you use. I found this super OP against soldiers, most enemies, a lot of the golems, maybe some of the Gorgons it wasn't as good as, but again that could be down to their individual strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, absolutely must get this once you get enough gold to craft it. As I said, 50 gold, or if you've got any of the other materials, then it might be a bit easier. So next up, Hera's temple, and we're going to need a bunch of fruit, pomegranates to be exact. Hera's temple's on the southeastern coast, just opposite or part next to the desert. So pomegranates are a good source of food. They're actually better than the other berries in terms of just eating raw, as they'll give you lots of healing and stamina, and you can find them north of Hera's temple, just a bit more north in the west alongside the coast. There must be 20 of these trees. I do recommend chopping them all down, get at least 50 pomegranates, as pomegranates are used for other stuff later. In fact, one of the rewards we're going to get from this temple. So you can see we have gone quite a bit more north, and it's just in the middle there. Look for that small island on the east coast, and then yeah, just north of there you'll find a ton of them. So what you're going to earn from this is the Vengeance Elixir. Basically, Thorns damage, you do 25% damage back every time you get hit. This is also where you get the Centurion Kuros with a cloak recipe as well. It's definitely worth it for that. So next up, Hermes statues. That's how we gain entrance to Hermes temple. Here you'll be able to get a hoplite shield and a bunch of gold. Hermes statues are scattered far and wide across the whole main island, but not at the starter island. And yeah, you're basically given 1,000 gold coins, which is a lot more than some of the other amounts you've been given for completing this one. So you can do this in any order. Basically, whatever of the statues you come across first, it will give a clue on where to find the next one. Something I didn't pay enough attention to the first 2 or 3 times I went and activated it. I just thought it was a throwaway thing that you could get while traversing and exploring, not realising it would be one of the labours. Hermes temple is all the way in the east side. You can see on this little island, pretty much slap bang in the middle, and it does contain one of the statues next to it to give you a start if you haven't found any of the others. What makes this more frustrating is they don't appear on the map once you've found one, so you do have to either try and remember where you found one if you want to keep track, and especially if other players are playing with you, make sure they put a bed down near it. That way you won't see it on the map, but you will see it on the compass as you get closer to the bed. So the clue I got for this one was the Great Beast's bones, and that's all the way over in the southern desert. Be careful, there is a Gorgon, one of the Medusa creatures, guarding this with maybe some others at night time at least, and you can see here it is on the map. You can't really miss it. As soon as you see the giant bones sticking out in the southern tip of the map of the coast, you'll find it. The next clue is threatened by Zeus, and that means going all the way up the mountains to find the giant statue of Zeus. The mountains are in fact just a little bit more west from the desert, the bottom side of the mountains at least, and yeah, if you get up close enough you should be able to see it. Again, be warned, there is more Gorgons guarding and patrolling this area. In fact, this is one of the toughest areas to explore, as there's at least 2 or 3 of the Gorgons and more. The next clue it gave me was a beach alcove. So you find it hidden just by a rock and some bushes. This one you may need to take a look at the map, but on the west side of the coast again, just underneath the locked area in terms of the biomes, which you haven't discovered yet. Not too many dangers around here, at least that I found. Next clue is pretty blunt, overlooking the portals. So if you look to the north-northeast on the hill, once you spawn in at the crossroad portals, you'll notice the blue lights and the wisps, and this is where the next one is. The next clue is the river gate, which obviously is up here. Can't really miss it as it's right next to the world barrier for the next biome that's going to be added in the future. And the clue for this one is the forest peak, dark forest peak. So yep, in the dark forest, literally right here, just slightly northwest of the tree marked on the map. Next we're off to the northern shoreline, literally on the very edge of the water and the beach. It's pretty much the most northern tip of the island. So the next clue is river meets the sea, and pretty much on the eastern side you can find obviously the water and that river that cuts through the dark forest right there on the coastline. As mentioned earlier, to get Poseidon's trident, this is going to be the same location that you'll find the seashells, and yeah, it's one of the Hermes statue locations, so use the bridge that you've already built. The shield is just like the others that you can either buy or you get given as soon as you plonk down a armory station. It has just the same stats, so only for the visual looks differences do you want to get it. So in the dark forest you will find Athena's temple just to the north. It should have a little faint yellow icon on it. And your task, take on a group of soldiers in various encampments to get some medallions that they'll drop. Each one will drop one medallion and you're going to need 9 of them. So it's centered just outside the dark forest, right on the way towards the coast on the north and east parts of the map just here. They're pretty tough customers, absolutely maybe more dangerous than some of the other soldiers you come across. I'm making this look relatively easy though, as I have Zeus's spear. So the first encampment of wayward soldiers just here to the north alongside this hill. Now I'm pretty sure there's meant to be 3 encampments, but honestly I searched all around this area and I could only find 2 of them. But don't panic, they will respawn relatively quick, it only takes like a day and more soldiers will come. As always, get some ranged headshots in if you don't have an OP weapon, and this lot actually fired some sort of purple crystal, which I'm guessing was ambrosia. I'm sure that would have done a lot of damage or maybe stopped me using my abilities. But yeah, I searched all around here. I was expecting to maybe find them in the actual dark forest since that's where the temple is, but really I looked around there good a lot as well and I just could not see any other encampments. So this one's slightly more to the east of the dark forest and the temple of Athena just here. So you reward the Centurion Kuros without a cloak and Agos elixir. This is kind of a recurring comment for me, but so many of these rewards don't seem very worth it. The potion here is meant to restore half your health when you receive a killing blow. Now I tested it a bunch against I'll bet higher level creatures like some of the Gorgons, and each and every time I was killed straight away. So absolutely test it on a lower level creature or find maybe a copper golem close to your base near the teleportals, and hopefully it will work a bit better for you than it does me. You will need also some of the wolf hearts. Remember, you need 3-star wolves, so kill them using bow and arrow and aim for their heads, some spartium and 10 ambrosia dust. Okay, time for Zeus now. This is how you get Zeus's bow and basically be able to fire thunder arrows. So the temple is in the southern mountains, just slightly southwest of the big tree on the map itself, and you'll find it embedded inside the cliff face, the doorway. So how do you open it? Well, you've got to head to the mountains in the north to go ahead and shoot these purple wisps out of the sky. You can try building up if you really want with a melee weapon, but it's just quick and easy to take some arrows and aim very well. You don't even need to pick up the dust that it gives you, you only need to get 15 of the orbs shot or killed. Might be a bit challenging getting up there in the mountains in the north, but it's relatively much easier than the ones in the south. The only exception to that is this champion guarding some of them, but you don't really even have to fight him. You can shoot the actual orbs from distance and not worry. I'm using some ice arrows I picked up here, frost ones, and that made life easier. Then it's back over to the temple to take on a Gorgon, and I would say these are some of the more challenging ones. Definitely the soldiers were also pretty tough to beat. I have got Poseidon's trident, which is making this look a lot easier, but there's not as many places to kite them around, so you may want to hit them from above, hopefully with some arrow shots, and then take on the Gorgon on its own. As always, same advice with these videos that I've been doing for all these temples. Soon as she starts teleporting, get ready to dodge and duck. She does fire her bolt sometimes when you get up close, but most of the time you'll know when to go and hit her. After she's teleported, she should be a bit more open. Smashing the deity stand itself will give you the hopper-light bow, and then the arrows will be inside the gold chest. Now you will need gold ingots to craft the thunderbolt arrows, and there's only really 2 places to get gold on top of either of the mountains, and it's pretty a hard spot to find. Plus dark wood, dark resin, and some of the amber. The amber you get from the tree stumps in the far south desert, but you will need a pickaxe to go ahead and mine it. And of course the dark wood you'll find in the dark forest. So remember, what you're getting here is the style. You can customize it and add different woods and, more importantly, different metals to make it stronger and do more damage. But the base stuff you need to craft is also softwood, some deer entrails, some resin and some leather strips. But in terms of modifiers, when it's default, it's the same as the other bows. In this legendary purple set at least. The Reaver bow, the Hoplite bow and the other one pretty much all offer the same stats. So there you go, that is all 8 of the temples, all the rewards that you get and how to complete them. Couple little bonus items here now. You were wondering where to get frost arrows. This southeastern island just opposite the desert. If you're looking for the Hoplite sword, it's on top of the pillars inside the desert, or inside the middle one on the chest. In the centre to the north just here. Look out for a silver golem that usually guards it. The rest of the unlocks are all going to be dyes that you can find. One at a nighttime chest you can only open at nighttime towards the south of the Smalland mountains. I'm probably going to do a video showcasing all the armour and different colours, but yeah, Aegon Nightwatch here. Close to one of the Hermes statues all the way on the north coast. You'll get the Aegean Solar Watch dye, which obviously again is another nighttime chest. Guarded by some pretty tough soldiers and captains, so be careful. Also in the north, just past the dark forest, you'll find this glade with spears and a chest underneath a tree. This will give you the Royal Mess dye. If you go all the way to the most southern islands just beyond the desert, you may need to build a bridge to get there, but there will be a normal chest, and this unlocks Aegon's finest dye recipe. And the last one in terms of dyes that I've found so far, hence why this is a bonus, not a complete video on its own just yet, I want to make sure, is the Old Commander recipe, which you can find towards the northwest of the coast. Any other chests I found simply just gave some gold coins, or like I said, some ambrosia if it was in the dark forest. But yeah, if I definitely find more dyes, I will put that in a separate video and just customise and shine all different armours if there's any changes. At the moment, a lot of the arm sets, like I said, are the same. Focus on the chest piece only, as that's the only thing that causes a big difference in terms of stamina and protection. But it's also what you utilise. That's what matters. Whether it's iron, steel, ambrosia, whatever. Get the best materials you can to craft whatever new armour set you want and just go with the looks. Hopefully this mega video has helped you out. Like I said, go and check out some of the smaller ones I did if you want some more details. But otherwise, I think that will do you in good stead. Until next time, Ratbags, for more Dawn Defiance guides and gameplay, I'll see you lot later.